All right. All of you freedom-loving boys and girls, whomever you are, wherever you are in this big blue marble of a planet we call Earth, insert sound of a drum roll right there, Mark Centerline Systems. Hey, I'm a little bit of pain today, but I have mentally brought it up to 100. More doing great part to our guest that we're going to have on, because when I brought him in, he was listening to Slayer or something like that. So that was just like drinking a whole pot of coffee at once. So I'm back up and ready to get into the fight. Hey, going to just do a little housekeeping as always in the beginning. Just give some people a chance to catch up to the live stream. Two things. So I was able to get out of the shop and do some videos today. So next week I'll have a couple new videos popping. We did, I don't want to call it a loadout video because there's just so much gear, but kind of a loadout video on the rucksack, and then a video on what does it mean, you know, the custom orders, what it's that all about, and showing off some other options that might be of interest to people. And then tomorrow I'm going to do a hoodie video. So here, just for everybody watching, just give me a sec. So this is one of our hoodies. Now I'm here to tell you, and I'm just going to save this for the standalone video on the hoodies because the sizing, I just wanted to get all this figured out. But just for you boys and gals on the live stream, so you can see it here first, this is the green. I really, really like this green. That's the back of it. Not that you could hear me when I'm looking away from the mic. So this is a pretty basic hoodie. You know, our design that Blackbeard came up with based off our old design. And then one that's in black. That's, there we go, our old design in the front. And then on the back, keep thinking, keep moving, never quit. So I'll do a video on these tomorrow, a standalone video talking about the sizes and what I've learned so far. And then I'll get these guys up on the website middle to end of next week. So that'll be coming soon. All right, looks like we got some folks here. Let me just read the comments. Clinton, I'll bring you on a second. Inside joke from Gene. We had some emails going on, and Gene had a little too much cough syrup, which was funny, Gene, because that's what the kids in South Park were drinking in an episode, and I ended up watching later that night, and it made me think of you. I'm like, oh, they're doing cough syrup just like Gene is. But anyway, that was funny. So Gene's got the right night. Snowshoe checking in. Thanks, Snowshoe. And I love this, Gene. For all those haters, cheese it, meat bags. So, you know, on the hoodies, I'm not joking. I'm probably going to do a hoodie that has that quote, and I'll find out the exact venue and the date when Elon Musk said it, when he just, you know, he's talking, I'm pretty sure he's talking about Bob Iger at Disney. Again, Bob Iger, Disney, don't fucking sue me. There's actually some good South Park episodes about Disney as well, but don't sue me or try to kill me. But I'm pretty sure he's talking about Bob Iger, and he just says, go fuck yourself. And the host doesn't know how to respond. And then Elon Musk is like, did I not make that clear? Go fuck yourself. So Gene, cheese it, meat bags, or Elon Musk, go fuck yourself. There's going to be one more hoodie or hat or something coming out. Gene responding about the hoodies, both awesome. Yeah, and then I've got the orange one. Again, I'll do all that in a standalone video. Learn me something. What's up, Mark? Learn me something. How the hell are you doing? I know you and I have a phone call we have to catch up on. And then Snowshoe Dave saying hoodies look good. So yeah, stay tuned. I'll do a standalone video on that tomorrow, and I'll publish this. I'll publish that next week. All right, Clint, if you can hear me, we're caught up on comments. And if you're ready, I just want to jump right into it. All right, here we go. All right, Clint is here. Boys and girls, if you've watched Centerline or Millstone, you know who Clint is. You've seen him before. The man, the myth, the legend. But Clint, just for those people who don't know, if you don't mind, just a little bit of your background and who you are, sir, and why they should fucking listen to what you have to say tonight.
Well, like I said, I've been fortunate enough to be on a few times on Millstone and on here with Mark. So a lot of you have already heard my background, but spent a lot of time in the U.S. Army and Special Operations, some Ranger Battalion time as a medic, and then some Special Forces time as a junior, senior, and operations NCO within a Special Forces company. Also was on the podium and taught in airborne school, special forces, Q course. Also got to spend some time over on a team at the asymmetric warfare group as a marksmanship instructor. And then since I've retired from the Army, I've been out kind of like a lot of us do. We hang around in this industry doing lots of different things, done some firearms training, consulting on movies, getting into camouflage and printing substrates and product development. And man, just get to live the dream out there. Just, being able to associate with a lot of people that are passionate about the same things that I am. And like I said, Mark is one of those with Centerline Systems. He's always had some very interesting products that I think are definitely stuff that I would use in the field, in SEER types training or survival field craft, some cool, really necessities. So love those. That looks great.
Yeah, we'll come back over that. Hey, you mentioned some things, and I want to add a little bit more. And I don't know, and I'm sorry, I didn't get clearance from you to ask you this question if you don't want to talk about it. But you want to talk about, so not just your time over on asymmetric warfare group, but you've also got some time on the SAR, the search and rescue, on that civilian FEMA type of side, right? Can you add a little bit of that and what your recent experiences have been, if you can talk about it in vis-a-vis Helene and Milton, or not? I'm talking. Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I did get I got a phone call just recently. I work with some different DoD and Department of State projects. One of the things that I got into was a lot of us have spent time in FOBs, forward operating bases, and building our own A camps and things like that. So got pretty good at setting up man camps. So I've been working for numerous companies doing, started out as a project manager and became a senior project manager. And basically what that is you have a disaster, the emergency response people say, hey, we've got 1,500 people that we've got to feed, shower, do laundry, take care of their basic needs. And they walk out and say, all right, at the end of this airfield right here, this is going to be a camp. And we literally, trucks start rolling in, and they set up a power grid. They set up clothes, dining facilities, everything. And then you manage that. You make sure that it becomes a small city, and you're like the mayor of a small city, and you have all kinds of people doing stuff. Just recently, I'll give you an idea of what that's like. I went up to Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, during the, when the Afghan refugees were coming over. And we had 5 camps that had, I was actually contracted to do a 1,500 person camp. And that's about typical. Well, everybody knows how that withdrawal happened. So went up there thinking I was going to have 1,500 people and a few employees running that stuff. I ended up having 13,000 Afghan refugees up at Fort McCoy. And it turned into, it was something to behold. I had 400 employees running multiple dining facilities, multiple laundry mats, 300 barracks. So it scaled pretty quickly. And if you ever heard the term drinking from a fire hose, I was drinking from a fire hose on that one. But I've also been to Fort Myers for the hurricane down there. I've been down to Lake Charles, down to I've been up to Tennessee. The last floods that they had up in Hazard County, Tennessee, was up there. So I've been to multiple of these things, and then also do a lot of exercises. They'll say, hey, we're going to do a big exercise here at this camp. So it's been interesting doing that because, you want to talk about thinking on your feet. You got to think on your feet. You got a big credit card, and you got to make decisions quick. So that was a real interesting. I still do that. But like I said, I kind of subcontract out to multiple companies when they say we need somebody to run a camp, who can do it? And my name usually gets brought up because of the past stuff that I've done. So search and rescue, circling around to I'm going to Jen Psaki back to your question. Circle back.
Don't make me laugh. It hurts, man. Ouch.
we'll come back to the search and rescue. So one of the people that I work with works pretty high up in the DOD, and they knew that I was a medic in the Ranger Regiment and spent time on the CSAR team, search and rescue teams as a medic. So this just happened, and of course I got a call maybe a week or two ago, and they were like, "Hey, you ready? We're trying to get." There's still a lot of people missing, and of course, like a lot of people, I was watching some of the feedback that was coming back from up there from other people that I know that was there, and I've been on site when that stuff happens, and the locals are very distrusting a lot of times, and I understand why, because I'm the same way. So they're very distrusting of, hey, we're the government, we're here to help. And they need stuff, they need basic necessities, and the community starts coming together and doing that. It was like that up in Kentucky. Good people, and they can tell if you're genuine or not real quick. So they know you're there to help them, and that's, neighbor to neighbor. But if you're there providing stuff and you're doing your best, they can see it. So I was not able to go up to this one up in North Carolina. It just didn't metastasize for me to go up there, but I definitely got the call. It was like, you ready to go start flying around and trying to get back in here and search for people. So, and who knows, I could get a call tomorrow morning, and I've had 2 to go up to North Carolina, and I've got a lot of people that I know that are doing the same thing down in Florida right now. So I don't know if that answered the question. It was kind of the long way around. So
no, it was a good answer. And again, not wanting to put you on the spot, but maybe we'll talk during the after action review, because there is that civilian organization, and again, put together by individuals like yourself, former 18 series, former Ranger Battalion guys.
Yep.
And they actually had the working HLZ up there in North Carolina, and they've done a couple videos. They were getting some shit from FEMA, and just like you said, a little bit from some other people. But then now they've got North Carolina National Guard and some other federal entity. Like, it's the only actual working, legitimately acknowledged HLZ. And I'm sorry, folks. Earlier, Clint said CSAR. So SAR is search and rescue, CSAR combat search and rescue. Yeah. You think of what's going on, after a hurricane, a flood, and a disaster. That's not necessarily combat, but you're in those same type of environments, that same type of potential weather anomalies or just devastation, and that potential for looting and armed people, so anyway, that's CSAR. And then I just said HLZ. That's just a helicopter landing zone is what I meant to say there. So just so we don't acronym out. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention, Gene actually is holding me to task on this. You're also a film star.
Yeah, I get to do a little bit of stuff with film stuff. So that's always interesting. And I always feel like a square peg trying to be shoved into a round hole, because the film industry is a interesting place to navigate for almost a lifetime of military service. It's very different, so, but being an 18 series guy, I'm kind of a shapeshifter. So I seem to be able to make my way through there.
That's right. Shapeshifter, snake eater. Hey, but I kind of allowed us to get a little sidetracked. Where I wanted to go with it is I'll talk to you offline. So again, I know the name of the organization. I don't want to say it out loud. I want to talk to you a little bit about first, but maybe that's something that we can look at going forward. I was already going to do something with the hoodies, and maybe I tweaked that a little bit. So I kind of want to talk to you, because I got a sense exactly who this organization is, and I want to hear your thoughts. It seems pretty legit, and maybe we could help support them too, which kind of, again, not quite my background, but definitely your background, the same group of people, out there just doing kick-ass good things. And I like that idea as well. So they seem pretty squared away and legit, but.
Well, and I can, I'll give you a little bit. If this is not exactly what you're talking about, it's still kind of interesting. And so for the last 2 days, well, I don't think I want to talk about that. Either way, a lot of the people that are helping up in North Carolina, as you know, Trump has been up there on the ground. President Trump, hopefully future President Trump, was up there. And as these disaster operations start to unfold, I almost cringe knowing that I'm going to be the first one in there, because I've driven into these things and it's like before, hundreds of miles before you ever get in there, you stop at the last Walmart that you see that's running properly and get what you need. The last one that I was at, I was down in a holler, definition that I don't use often, but up there in the mountains, they have hollers, and those rivers come down in them valleys, and there's little communities sprinkled all over in there. And when those floods come through, like it did in North Carolina, that water is going in one direction. And as soon as it hits a corner, anything that's at that corner is gone, because it just hits it and goes the other direction. So you just go through these rivers. The one river that I was on, that it was one, I didn't know this, and maybe you can correct me. I think a river is defined as a flowing body of water that's 100 miles long. If it's that, I think it's a creek.
Well, yeah, and then tributaries. And yeah, there's. I think you're pretty damn close. I don't know if it's 100 miles is what makes it, but yeah, there is something to do with that, right?
Somebody was telling me that, but I'm telling you, you would go up there, and there was turned over cars and entire little towns down in there, little communities. Everything was turned upside down, and when you roll in there, there's no communication. I was trying to send daily sit reps back to my headquarters, and I'd have to drive 30 miles up into a town just to try to use my hotspot on my phone and my computer to try to send out a sit rep on daily operations. And it was no communications, rough. And I hate to say right now, with the election 20 days out, I'd hate to roll up in there where there's no communication or sketchy.
Well, let's table that, because I want to come back around to that. And because there's already been some scary things, like Axelrod came out and said, hey, he has no doubt the good people of Asheville, because they're Democrats, they'll figure it out. But all those other rednecks, he doesn't know if they're going to be smart enough to figure out the election. So, but let's come back to that, because that's one of my main things. We're 19 days away from it, and we've kind of done a little bit of bullshit here. I mean, but last little bit of bullshit, they're up on the website right now. We got next business day. This is one of our mother canteen carriers in Clint's camouflage pattern, the Nemesis. Oh, you got them. Nice. Yeah, there you go.
I got them.
Nice,
Somebody's getting them.
Yeah, whatever you want to do. I just thought you might enjoy those. I made a handful of them, and here's one of our big boy folding saw pouches in the Nemesis. Nice. But I wanted to give a quick plug. That video you did last week over on your social media. Well, I think it was you, or maybe you were reposting someone else. Mm-hmm. But he was out there fully kitted up, and he had just got his tops and bottoms, his BDUs, so to speak, if you want to call them that. Yeah. He just got his uniform, and he was showing that off. And I'm here to tell you, man, those are just photos, and that's close scrutiny. It's near scrutiny. You can see the guy, whoever's taking the photo isn't that far away. But if you look at the background, and if you look at the trees, the vegetation, the soil, the natural shape, shadows, and everything, hell yeah, man! I think you got a home run right there. I hope it really takes off. I mean, because again, Clint knows this. I'm like, I just want to get a pair of shorts because I love shorts. And honestly, now I want a hoodie in Nemesis. I want to figure out how to make a hoodie in Nemesis. So
nice.
Yeah, I like it. All right, that was the Nemesis stuff. Do you want to add anything to Nemesis? And then otherwise, we're at 18 minutes. I kind of want to roll in and get your opinion on a couple other subjects. What do you want to do?
Just to retort on a little bit of what you just said about the camo patterns, couple of things. And you said close-up scrutiny. When you've got a guy standing right in front of the camera, 10 feet away from, right in front of some foliage or whatever, you kind of see it. And I was amazed with some of the comments that came back about the way it looked with the breakup, because as you and I had talked about, one of the things that I designed into that pattern was, if you look at tiger stripe, or you look at a full repeat of woodland or numerous patterns, they're horizontal.
Yeah.
You can actually see a horizontal pattern to that. So a lot of these guys, even small, medium-sized, large businesses, when they buy these rolls of fabric and they start cutting out product, and if they're cutting because the thing's horizontal, because all of the pattern pieces have to be the same direction. Nemesis camo is designed with zero directional, so it can literally be rotated any way. There's no way that you look at Nemesis camo and it has any kind of horizontal vertical pattern in it, which allows people to not lose fabric as they're cutting something and go, oh, I cut that pattern piece the wrong way, you know? So that's a big cost savings. And that was one thing that I listened to gear manufacturers is like, when I'm CAD cutting, if I don't lay that out right, I'll have a bunch of scrap on the floor, and it anywhere from $12 to $20 for fabric. All those little mistakes start to hurt. So yeah, I wanted that for manufacturers as a selling point, is you're going to waste less fabric. So I'm real happy with the way it came out, looking very non-directional, very splotchy. It is big, but the thing about Nemesis camo, I literally planned into it that's the base pattern. Once you start walking through the woods for 2 hours, you're going to have all kinds of scuffs and dirt and mud and sweat and blood and all kinds of stuff on that pattern. It's only going to make it look better. A lot of my ideology came out of the way the Matt V. Sog guys spray painted their OG 107s. I just think that's, you know, so simple, so brilliant, and it's keep it simple, stupid concept.
Yeah, I've been trying to remember that. For the last 2 weeks, I've been trying to remember that phrase, OG 107s. Now that's like Clint and I are, you know, kind of dating ourselves here and going way back in time, but it had to do with the color, that green that they had in those OG 107s, which I think is something 65 or whatever. But yeah. I was trying to remember that for the longest time, Clint. You just like gave me a nice kick. Yeah. Oh yeah. OG 107s. Gotcha. OG 107. But, you know, hey, but last thing though, on that pattern though. So, I mean, you know, look, as a manufacturer, I definitely appreciate that capability, because as you just said, it does add up. I mean, every fucking penny adds up. And if you're throwing $1, you know, per product, if I'm losing $1 of wasted material I can't ever use for any other product, I mean, you know, it doesn't take a, you know, rocket scientist to figure out that, hey, by the end of the year, you may have just lost $1,000. I don't know about anybody who just has $1,000 that they can just lose. And, you know, so it is really nice. But again, going back to that photos, I think the other thing that you captured with that, going back to the whole, you know, 107s and Max Sog V and all that, and the rattle cans, is, you know, when you really spend that time in the woods, and, you know, we've had this conversation before, you know, far scrutiny, near scrutiny, you know, 300 meters, you know, 100 meters, 500 meters, like, how does that camouflage really, you know, impact the viewer and what they can see naked, you know, Mark IV eyeball or optics? Again, just even looking at those photos from that recent post, you can see all that. So even though here's the guy with the camera, and here's the, you know, the not an actor, but, you know, the guy with the gear, you know, he's just, you know, 10, 15 feet away from the camera, but you can see that vegetation and that terrain behind him. And you can see how that molted, because nothing in life is always perfectly, you know, left and right, you know, it just isn't.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm pretty still digging how it turned out, you know. Last thing on that, gosh, you bring up things. One of the huge things that manufacturers have to deal with is trying to figure out how to trim stuff out. How are you going to trim it? You know, are you going to use Ranger Green, Coyote Brown, the multitudes of browns and greens, or whatever you're going to put at it? So I painstakingly made sure I had industry standard Coyote and industry standard Ranger Green in the pattern. So if you were going to put edge tape or 1-inch webbing, whatever, you could use pile tape and things like that, so it would match the pattern. So you can use either Ranger Green or Coyote Brown in that, with that trims.
Yep. And then you can see it right there on the webbing and the plastics, just even on that bottom part right there. Yep. So no, very well done. And then we got Gene coming in saying Nemesis for the win. Loves his mother Gen 2 and Nemesis. Nice. Any final comments on Nemesis? Otherwise,
well, that's over. Let's talk about some of the stuff that's going on.
Yeah, right. And how you might want to consider getting some Nemesis. Okay. And so on that note right there, I'm going to kind of turn this back over to Clint. All right, Clint, kind of an open-ended question. The title of this episode, Better to Have and Not Need. Everybody should know that, because it's better to have and not need than need and not have. 2 is 1, 1 is none. However you want to look at this. And I'm not necessarily just talking about the gear we just showed or, the gear that Clint makes. But Clint, in your opinion, given the election is 19 days away, and I don't even know if we really need to get into all the things, but we'll talk about a handful of things they're not hiding it, boys and girls. Evil is active. Evil's afraid right now. Evil's kind of been in the ring with Mike Tyson saying, "Oh, I'm evil," and Mike Tyson's old. Come to find out, Mike Tyson still got some serious, Shazam in his freaking, in his pipe swinger, right? So I think there's hope right now, but turning this over to Clint, Clint, no matter who wins, we have a long road ahead of us. If one person wins, here, I'll just say it. I don't mind. It's my opinion. If Kamala Harris wins, we're heading into communism. The last 3 years, I mean, imagine if Trump wouldn't have defeated Hillary Clinton, she would have been a 2-term president. I don't know if people even want to contemplate how fucked up we would be right now. That's my humble opinion. The economy, whatever. But if Kamala wins, forget your freedom. It's just forget it, right? It is replacement. It's all over but the crime. If Trump wins, there's going to be people fighting and resisting, especially, again, Republicans, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell's, Dan Crenshaw's, all those fucking, birds of the same feather, the globalist elite. So Clint, does it matter? I mean, and if it does, better to have and not need, or what are your thoughts? What would you kind of want to, maybe it's only 19 days away. What would you kind of say to folks?
Oh gosh, I guess, I may have brought this up before in one of the other live streams, but, probably most of the people that are watching this are very much like you and I. They live in a somewhat heightened sense of awareness. I mean, any kind of people that are into fieldcraft or camping, hunting, fishing, all this stuff, self-reliance stuff, enjoy knowing that they bring something to the game. They already know how to do a lot of these things. There's so many people out there that don't know how to take care. They don't know how to be self-sufficient, self-reliant. Those are the biters. Those are the ones that we got to watch, because there's going to be a whole lot of people that know how to take care of themselves, take care of their family, take care of their preps, to be prepared, to have a plan, and to keep that secure while chaos is starting to erupt around us. To have some kind of a plan, any plan, something with your food, something with water, how you're going to take care of your immediate safety, things like that. What we're up against right now is what I believe we're going to see is, again, we've got such a shallow area of independents and non-decideds, very small. And then you got hard left and hard right, and those two sides are not going to be happy no matter which way this goes. You're going to have Kamala somehow pulls this off, there's going to be a whole lot of people that know what you and I, Mark, what you just said. We're heading down the road to government takeover of everything. They're going to keep spending our money and bankrupt us until we're in bread lines, soup lines, whatever you want to call them. We're right there. We can't keep turning around and finding out that and I stood right there while FEMA was up there in Tennessee at the floods and was trying to give out $1,500 to somebody that their whole house, barn, shed, cars, everything went down the river, if not family members. Their whole life washed away, and FEMA's up there trying to give them nut. That was a year or two ago. I was up there for that. Now we've got the same situation in North Carolina, Tennessee, and Kentucky, and they're up there trying to give them $750. And people are seeing, I'm working entirely too hard for you to give another $425 million to Ukraine when we're all suffering. And,
and then bragging about it like this is somehow a good thing. I mean, like, If nothing else, it shows you just the baby town frolics and just the amateur hour we're in, where like you're not even smart enough as a politician to see the optics of that.
Yes.
Like you're out partying with Hollywood bigwigs, the same people that we probably will never see the Epstein client list or the Diddy list for that matter. Diddy, what a very appropriate nickname, right? But yeah, you're out there, doing that or drinking a beer on a late night show, bad mouthing, a major, a number of, your fellow Americans. And then to your point, and you're just offering $750 to a bunch of folks who just had their whole lives. I mean, I just look back into it today. I mean, think about this, boys and girls. There are people still living in tents. Like if you have power, a lot of people who have power, it's because of the volunteer organizations or some neighbor who had an extra Jenny. I mean, to Clint, to your point, I don't think, and the media isn't covering it because they don't want to, because it's an election, right? Like, hey, I'm sorry, just like they didn't want to talk about, the laptop, oh, that's fake news or whatever. I'm like, no, it's not. I mean, that's Hunter Biden's laptop, you effing weirdos. So we're being lied to. And, when you don't share information, that's another form of guilt, right? Like guilt by omission or lie by omission, if you want to call it that way. So to your point, and I just saw another article, like, great, $750. I don't have any internet, you effers. And you're trying to shut down because now you guys don't like Elon Musk or your bitch is, oh, well, that's only 30-day of free service. Hang on, he's a company. What's he supposed to? Are you saying he should just give you free internet for the rest of your life? He's at least still out there doing it. Like, so that's how evil these people are. They've managed to flip the script. Oh, Elon Musk, Starlink, this and that. But after 30 days, you got to start paying for it, Well, there's options. You don't have to. You could return it. But what else is there? What is the government doing anything? Are they going out there setting mobile hotspots? And to Clint's, and I don't know this for a fact. Clint and I've never talked about this, and I'll tread a little bit lightly, but obviously, with the CIA background, I worked around a lot of electronics intelligence, ELIT, and countermeasures and things like that. I'm here to tell you, it's well within our capabilities, the government. And I've been out of the government since 2012. Well, I guess I was kind of back in for a little bit, but, in the National Guard, my retirement was screwed up. But putting that aside, all I'm trying to say is we have all the ability to do this, even within our military elements. And those, if properly deployed, could be providing this infrastructure, even if it's only just on a local level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting. I'll track back right in on that, and we're looking at, all these North Carolina, these counties up there. If the rumors, conspiracies, the things that are being said about these being, Republican counties up there, and it seems like they're trying to hold back assistance, that that they just don't look over there, it's not happening, we're going to kind of ignore it, and that's what they're doing, they're ignoring it. And I said that because just what you were saying, Mark, is we're steps away from the scale being tipped so far to the left. All of the information is going to be controlled by one side.
Yes.
And that we are screaming towards, a Joseph Goebbels would be freaking proud, of the propaganda, the way that they're running the media right now. Because I mean, it's so manipulated. Everybody can see it. I am tired of being told to wake up. I'm awake. I'm watching, I'm paying attention, and there's a lot of other people that are. And now it's starting to get into those independents and undecideds. It's starting to tip. But you basically it's like fighting people from the Middle East. They're willing to die for their cause, and that's where we're at. We have we have a Democratic Party that is backed into a corner because the malfeasance that is being done there, the corruption that's so embedded, they're terrified.
I just want to add to that. I don't think that's just the Democratic Party. You're not wrong, but I know you agree with me. There's plenty of Republicans. It's the cabal. It's I actually saw another podcast about a week ago and some good points. the argument was, well, what if there's multiple groups within our, and I'm like, that actually kind of makes sense. If you think about BlackRock, and then World Economic Forum, and then, unelected bureaucrats, And then, so just to bring that up to your point, because there's so many quote unquote Republicans that now, what's her face, who just got her ass kicked in her reelection bid. And now she's out stumping for Kamala. Her dad was the warmonger, Cheney. And then Adam Kinzinger, just like, come on, people, can you not see how obvious, like in a different era, their names would be Judas. Like, you can just see how slimy these people are, and they don't give a shit. They're not Republican. They don't give a shit about any of us.
Nope. Great point. Cause I caught, and I couldn't sit through the whole thing cause I already knew what I was going to get packaged with a bow on it. So this Kamala Harris with Brett Baer thing that last night, I caught some little pieces of it during the day-to-day as I was doing real important stuff, like real life stuff. And, I was watching, and I was just watching her. I was like, you have got to be stone cold stupid to listen to her and think that she's got a plan when all she can talk about is, you don't like Trump. That's it. Vote for me. You don't like Trump. Vote for me. There is no plan. She hasn't come out and said anything coherent, that is going to make life better for my family when we go to the grocery store, when we're paying our utilities, every single month, they're standing there waiting for their money and they don't care.
And honestly, I love how you said that, because I've been saying that for years. Like, if you think I'm being political, oh, Mark, you're a right wing, or you don't, I haven't even told you what my political opinions are. I just agree with everything Clint said. And if you can't see that both sides of it's the same, what did somebody say once? It's the wings on the same bird, right? You got a left wing, you got a right wing, whatever you want to call it, Democrat, Republican, but it's attached to the same body. And that body is the globalist, horrible cabal. None of these people give a shit about me or you. I loved watching that little snippet of, Barack Obama talking down to black men, and Joe Biden did the same thing. And Kamala, Kamala, she made her, she cut her record, or however you want to say it, off incarcerating people over just minor, and no one wants, and hey, and I'm on the record, go all the way back to our Mission Critical podcast from years ago. We were talking about how evil Kamala Harris was. This was before, Trump and she was even trying to run for the nomination. Hey, and let me just get some comments up here real quick, and then I want to come back to what you just said, though, real quickly. So here we go. Gene, go Wolverines. I think we know what he's talking about. And then we got Cool TV, also from overseas. I don't have his permission to say exactly where he's from, but he's from overseas. Well, he just kind of alluded to it if you see his comment. Hey, Mark and Clint, 25 years ago, I knew this was coming to your country. Clint, I want to kind of circle back around to you. I kind of agree with him. I'll go all the way back to the Bush era. Well, it was actually kind of the Clinton era. I don't know if I was quite aware then of how much danger we were in, but by the Obama era, I was like, oh, we're in really big trouble. And then, so circling back to a comment I made earlier, even if Trump wins, we avoid communism, we avoid the censorship, we avoid losing all of our constitutional rights. We do avoid that. But boys and girls, the one thing I think that no one's talking about, Clint, is even if Trump wins and we avoid all that evil that is going to come under communism, we have such a fiduciary, a financial inflation, a disaster on our hands. I'm here to tell you, we've got at least 6 to 8 years of hard effing work to dig ourselves out of the mess that this government, just spending all this money that we've wasted. The inflation's caused by the government, people, but it's going to take a lot of austere measures, like austerity. It's going to be a lot of hard work. That's not even talking about any international crisis or, all the rhinos and the globalists fighting Trump, because they make too much money off of all this shit. Again, they don't give a shit about me or you. They want to keep the gravy train coming. Clint, you want to kind of respond to that?
Yeah. who was that just made the comment that we were talking about and knew it was coming here?
His handle is Cool TV.
Did he say where it's from?
He just said our country. I know where he's from, but I don't have his permission, so I'm not going to say it. He's from he's from Europe. I'll just say he's from Europe.
Okay. Easy enough. But I guess the point is, you know, we've watched the way some of the things have gone in Australia. We certainly are watching Europe change a lot, and there's a lot of resistance. And, you know, and that's why a long time ago, they lost a lot of firearms in Europe, Australia, stuff like that. That's why we keep hearing them say, don't lose your Second Amendment rights. Don't let it go away. You won't, of course, you won't get it back. It won't come back. And that's the fight we're in right now. Not only, you know, that is the teeth for our Second Amendment for us to be able to assemble and protest and all kinds of, you know, protection from a tyrannical government. So that's what it's for. And yes, we're getting ready to lose it. And I keep explaining it. At least this election, I kind of preface it like, if anybody's flown in a helicopter, you know, and your engines go out, the helicopter just doesn't fall out of the sky. It auto rotates. You can actually, you know, let the blades go. You can kind of bring it in for a landing. And what you have is called a controlled landing with auto rotate. Or there's crashing it, where you take the collective and you drive it into the ground. That's where we're at with this election right now. Yes, we get Trump, we're on an auto rotate to the ground. We're still going in for an emergency landing, you know, but it's just going to be a controlled emergency landing. Whereas the other side, I feel, is a complete, you're running into the side of a mountain.
And, you know, one of those is, you know, there still is going to be pain. There still could be injuries. There still could be fatalities, but you have a higher chance of surviving. Whereas if you just dram that collective, you know, like you said, and just push it right down, like, okay, well, your dick's going to be in the dirt, and, you know, there ain't no coming back from that.
Yeah.
Couple comments, and then I already see the direction I'm going to go based on these comments. Gene, there is no plan B. Yeah, there is no plan B. I like that kind of a Cortez, burn your ships when you get to the new country. There is no plan B. We either got to pull this out or we're effed, as VTech Moonwalker said in more colorful language. We fucked. And then learn me something, you know, talking about her. Well, yeah. And then her rise to power and how she got there. And where's the media? I thought they believed in, you know, journalistic principles and freedoms. And, you know, that poor guy from ABC just got shellacked for actually finally a moment of journalistic integrity and asked a few questions. And then, you know, his whole channel apologized, and they called him out by name and did this, you know, internal meeting and just bullshit. But VTech kind of add to it, you know, she's rolling to the top. There's some good memes about, like, this is the classic example of only in the government can you fail up this dramatically, you know, like to that point, VTech. And then Cool TV talking about how he came up with 25 years ago, saying that we were in trouble. He read or found out about it through a man called Dr. Alberto Rivera, an ex-Jesuit priest. So if somebody wants to look that up and see more of what Cool TV is talking about, thanks for sharing that with us. Hey, so on that point, Clint, kind of from some of the comments that have come in, and if I can bring it all the way back, I think there's an intersection here. You know, you mentioned earlier about, you know, and this could be speculative, you know, maybe somebody says tinfoil hat, but, you know, we look at who's getting attention and who's not getting attention. And it isn't just the hurricane I'm talking about. I'm talking nationwide and even on an international level. And you kind of mentioned how red states or red counties, red cities are kind of getting the shaft. Well, I think if you take a step back and look at so many other issues, it does seem to be that Martha's Vineyard, they got rid of, suddenly they could get rid of all those illegal immigrants that were at Martha's Vineyard. Mm-hmm. But we can't do that in, you know, New York warned about how much money that was going to cost, but New York, you know, there it is. Well, I guess that's because it's New York, but if you look at other places, well, here, and I'm just going to say this, like, you know, oh, look, the illegal crossing numbers are down. No, it's not. You guys are flying them directly into red states and red cities, you know, so there's a little something else going on there. And I think that shows a little bit of the evil that we're fighting against and the true nature of the fight that we're in. And I'll see where Clint goes with this. agree or disagree, but those type of people aren't the ones who are willingly going to walk into the darkness, these are the people who are going to burn the forest down just so you can't raise a family or build a house. They're that, because they don't care about us, as I said earlier. I really believe that.
Yeah.
But you want to take that from, like, is it intentional and everything's being pushed over towards the red? Are these events taking place to go ahead and inflame the populace or further segregate? Because where do you want? You kind of see where I'm going. How do you want to go with that?
Yeah, and I mean, it's getting to a point where these telegraphs are getting easy to call. What's happening. People are getting too good, and it's all these guys that bring that conspiracy. They like to use a conspiracy theorist, but when you keep nailing it, it starts making that person that looks crazy not so crazy. Because true story, my mom was telling me, oh, there's a plane that's taken all these pedophiles to this island, and I was like, Mom, you need to slow down on the Fox News, man. And then I'm like, well, don't I feel like a dummy? The little this is a real thing. There's a real island, and they know that this guy's got a whole book full of people, elites that have been going there, and you're like, okay, I was wrong. I'll just throw that out there. And when you keep thinking these things, cloud seeding, weather control, you keep hearing this stuff and you're like, oh, come on. And then they keep showing you this stuff. And it's like, okay, man, these things that keep seeming far-fetched are not out of question.
Well, and
the last thing you were saying, I'll just finish up with this. You did say that a lot of times this is with Republican places where they're withholding money, but I do have to respectfully disagree with that, because it's weird. Almost all of these places, as Mayorkas is wasting all of our tax dollars on stuff that this money should be going to, to wars and to our people with these disasters, but it keeps going off to foreign wars. You go by these cities that get hit by these hurricanes and they're not recovering. It's like a gash that won't heal, So you go through, our industry has been completely decimated. You drive through every small town that's got a brick factory there that's been closed down for years, and that whole town was built off of that factory, but it shut down. They've depleted us like that. Now we're getting these disasters, and every time a disaster comes through, you drive through that city 4 years later, man, and there's still blue tarps all over everybody's roofs, because the insurance companies aren't wanting to pay. They're needling everybody. You're paying all this money, and this is where, like I said, it's a circular thing. All these lobbyists, the insurance people, at some point it feels to me like they want to run the ship aground so they can and of course that's what everybody knows. They're wanting to reset.
Yeah, I don't think we were in disagreement. It's not just about, withholding. We were kind of, when I made that comment, it was like, are we, we getting aid into the areas that need it? And again, you had Axelrod coming out making his statement, about, one area versus the other based on their voting, demographic, as opposed to whether they're American citizens in need of help or not. Mm-hmm. But I agree with everything you said. And for what it's worth, people, this is going to sound a little stupid. But the CIA is out on the East Coast. I live in Minnesota. I didn't drive back to Minnesota very often to see friends, but when I did have leave, I had friends in Illinois because that's where I went to graduate, and so I had a little bit of an Illinois nexus. So I did Clint's Park, and then there's plenty of times where I came home and hey, you've got too much leave, you got to go take 30 days of leave. And I'm like, well, what the hell am I going to do? And it was the debate. My last one was a debate between going to New Zealand and skydiving and scuba diving, or, what, I haven't been an American so long, I'm just going to rent a car and drive around to baseball games. So to your point, Clint, long story, kind of getting into it, I've seen a lot of those areas in the South and the East. And whether that was a red area or a blue area, I don't give a shit. But it's to your point. It's almost like, yeah, we just no longer care about you. And I think that goes to the point, actually, the main point you and I were both making. our elected officials, if we don't get our heads out of our fourth point of contact, and if you need an explanation of what that is in military terms, I don't know what to tell you. But if we don't get our heads out of our asses, these guys don't care about us. Well, how do we keep electing these people in office? And honestly, they don't give a shit about this. Look, everybody's hating on Trump right now because he's talking about tariffs and he's trying to get jobs back in. Because I don't want to see what you just said. I don't care if that's in a deep blue holler someplace, or whatever, or a crimson red location. It's American industry. I'm a small business owner. That really hits home to me. It's like, and no one gives a shit about me in America right now, Republican or Democrat, to your point.
Yeah. It's a real catch-22 when you want to run a business. You want to be out there creating and creating your own, path, your own destiny with your own company, doing your thing. And they have made it impossible.
Yeah.
Made it impossible, and then you got guys, that and I get it, that they will raise pure T hell if those substrates, items, things is not 100% made in the USA. I got it. I want everything made in the USA, but if you can't get it because it's not made here, what alternative do you have?
What your alternative is to stop voting for politicians who allow American industry to go overseas because the labor is super cheap and the material is super cheap. And I'll just throw my 2 cents in here. I make handcrafted gear. The deal. Yep. And it bothers me, a patriot. Oh, it's so expensive. I'm like, dude, if you knew, if I open up my books to you and you saw how little money I was really making, you'd be like, oh my God, how are you still doing this? And why are you still doing it? Or if you turn around and say, hey, if you think that's the case, go to work tomorrow. Go to work tomorrow. Tell your boss you only want to make $100 or you only want to make a quarter of what your daily wage is. People are like, well, I would never do that. Well, then why do you expect me to do it? And that's what we've been allowed to become, Clint, in my opinion. All of that stuff was able to outsource. All of those companies, they're making a piece of gear. There's a bunch of people ripping this product off right here. There's some of these guys making this and selling it for $40, $60. I'm here to tell you, if they're selling it for $40 to $60 and it's overseas, do you think they're only doing that for $1 a unit? I mean, that is a technique. They're making, most of those guys who are doing it are making 400 to 600% margins at $60 because the material and the labor is almost non-existent. Well, okay. Well, you voted for this shit. So back to your point. No, we are all to blame for this. And that's why if you keep voting for this, I just, everybody I see would like, oh, I want to support 4 more years of this nonsense. I'm like, do you own a business? Do you work for anybody? Like, because even if you work for somebody, do you want to have that job? Because that's how you don't get jobs. That's how you lose your business and industry. And that's what we've been doing for a long fucking time. Back to Cool TV's point, you could take that back 25 years and you could see how we were selling out our own country, our own industry, our own infrastructure. And that's why you have those damn ghost towns out east that we were just talking about, east and south.
Yeah. And, with that all said, I'm a product of the public school system here. I served in the military 25 years. Until I was probably 35 years old, I didn't even pull my head out of my hiney. I was still traveling around the world, having a good time. It was, my first child lifted and shifted my fire. I mean, it completely changed me. And that what it started making me do was want to learn, insatiably learn. I wanted to be better at what I did, whatever it was within the industry, learn. Because the older you get, the more you figure out, you can't pay for experience. You got to learn those things. And then you become a wealth of knowledge and you know how to go out there and come back to what we're talking about, be an asset to your clan, your family, the people that need you. You got to have some ideas and come up with clear directions forward to run a business, to run a household, which is really what we need. And they want to disassemble that. They don't want the nuclear family. They don't want man doing what men do, women doing what women do, kids going to school and not being indoctrinated and, being lied to constantly. I mean, I can't even believe I've been watching the last couple of days, catching some stuff on, YouTube or whatever, and the amount of money that they're throwing at advertising right now for Kamala, it's all over everything,
because it's big business. And if she wins, this system continues, and a select group of people, the League of Shadows, whatever you want to come, are going to continue to become wealthier, more powerful, control more, and we're one step towards that final nail in the coffin. They, like you just said, they don't want community. They don't want small business. They don't want individual thought or individualism. They don't want family. They don't want any of that stuff. That is contrary to what I really think is the larger, game afoot, right? And whether that's like some kind of weird globalist corporate, hegemonies, or 1984 into distinct theaters. I mean, like, everybody talks about the threat from China, and I'm like, I'm not really too worried about China militarily. I'm worried about, because China represents one of those spheres of influence from 1984, and that's what I clearly see us in. It's like, yeah, move all your industry to China. Do you think the Chinese people are benefiting from all that industry there? Fuck no. They're slaves, man. They're,
the Chinese, their economy's not in any better shape, even though they're getting, all of our money. It's amazing and they're putting lots of money into the defense, which I keep hearing now their Navy's bigger than ours. And, of course we got a tit for tat. Oh, we got this, but they got those. And, but at the point where you're starting to go, wow, this other country's really, they got a game going on, man. And we better get our heads in the game. It's why we can't keep putting lawyers in the number one seat. We got to have a businessman in there. That's all I want in there, is somebody that's run a successful business.
Who knows how to negotiate with people at that frickin' level. And Kamala Harris doesn't have any of that juice at all. I mean, seriously, can you imagine sitting across the table from her, no matter what trade deal or international relations thing you were negotiating? Really? And that is, somebody like, oh, what a misogynistic thing to say. No, not at all. Margaret Thatcher. I would not want to sit down across the table from Margaret Thatcher. But Kamala Harris, she's an imbecile, plain and simple. Really. I mean, so whatever, you call me a sexist all you want. That's just bullshit. And that's also just the cute excuse for you. I don't have any real argument to present to you, so I'm just going to call you names. And that's where we've come into that point. Hey, Clint, we're at 57. I want to give you some final comments. I just want to read some comments that have come in, just as I always do. Learn me something. Back to talking about the politicians. This is for almost like 6 minutes ago. They get reelected due to laziness, complacency, and party line voting. That's on us. I agree. If you are wondering how these problems occurred, you only have to look in the mirror. We have allowed this to happen, right? We, the people. And then he just followed up, and good people don't primary them because politics is a dirty scene. Don't have a solution to that. I agree. Politics is a dirty, but there's ways we could work around that. Term limits, no PACs, no, you can't be, you don't get to leave politics and then go get a major job on the board of advisors for a company that you passed legislation for while you were in office. There's a lot of things that we could do from an ethics perspective that would stop this immediately. And then Cool TV. I've always loved and supported mom and pop cottage industries, but a lot of this crap you guys are dealing with goes right back to Nixon and the U.S.-China trade deal. Cool TV, high five for knowing your history. Didn't want to bring that up, but you can look at gold standard, the introduction of the Fed, the whole China policy, back to that era.
It's a great comment. And knowing that history and where this snowball started rolling down the hill to where we're at now with this monster snowball. I mean, and that's why I hate to say this. I mean, trying to do the best I can to live a good life right now, because I don't see that is the fork in the road. We are at total control, or we're just still going towards total control, but it's going to take a little longer. That's the way I feel. It's like an impending doom, no matter which party you get, because I mean, we're going to have Trump's going to have exactly what he had 16, 17, 18. He's going to have a party fight him tooth and nail. They're going to have him lawfare. They're going to play every dirty thing that they can that's within the rule books. and they're going to use it and they're going to mess him up. And the thing is they're going to try to make him bad. Hey, let's throw out another pandemic. Let's have put everybody in masks again, and let's see how that's going to go down. You know, and, so we go down that road. We got 4 years of Trump in office, and we got JD Vance. And I'm telling you what, JD Vance is going to have to be right up under his wing, man, learning everything so he can pick up that ball and take off with it at the end of this 4 years. And we got 8 more years. If that is a scenario that plays out, we may have
a chance
for a while longer. But I mean, these corporations, man, I mean, when are we going to get to where every single thing that you buy comes from one place? You know, the 50-mile Costco by 100 miles, you know, everything. They got everything.
That is the direction we're being moved in. And I love how you just took us there. And maybe because, you know, again, this has got to come up in another video just on itself. I mean, that is exactly it. And that's why I'm saying, you know, if Trump wins, this fight is a minimum of 6 to 8 years. Just to keep our nose above water, you know, as you kind of just were alluding to. This is nowhere near being over. And there's going to be huge fights in front of us. And we've got a primary. You know, Mitch McConnell's got to go. Lindsey Graham's got to go. You know, Dan Crenshaw's got to go. You know, all of these evil, corrupt politicians have to go. I mean, like so back to your in here. My final comment, I'll bring it back to you to hear what your thoughts are on this. And then we'll kind of wrap it up. I personally think that Trump, if he wins, his whole administration, he's got to do nothing but outsiders, and they've got to come into this thinking that this is a 4-year combat deployment. Yep, you can maybe have some time off once a year to go be with your family and all that, but you are on a combat deployment. You are working combat ops. There's too much work to be done. There is no, I'm going to go take a trip here just so I can take some time off. Real work has got to get done, and they've got to step up and be like, nope, you know, just like us boys and girls who served. Yep, this is what I'm doing. And for that period of time, I'm on my 3rd deployment. Yep, that's what it is. Clint, you can tell me if I'm stupid or not, but that's what my thought is.
And I mean, we've all been talking about this until we were blue in the face so many years talking about term limits. My God, how they could not have had written that in somewhere into our founding documents that these people could not be in control for 45 years. You know, how that one got by. And if it even got by, I saw that Joe Rogan was like, you mean you guys haven't wrote any new shit? You know, I mean, at some point you got to start adding some of these things in here, you know, that are not working. You know, Paul Ryan's still slithering around at Fox News or wherever the hell he's at, you know. Yeah. Until you were the Speaker of the House, go home. You're done with your government service. Go away.
Yeah.
You know, do your time, get out, and then do what you're going to do in the civilian sector, but quit slithering around up there as some kind of a, man, it's amazing that we have all these people up there doing this in Washington. You can't shake it loose. And I'm getting pessimistic that it will ever will. We're just kind of not gaining ground on this.
Well, again, I think the only way we can gain ground, well, here, I used to say 3 examples, now maybe 4, you know, a real no shit Martian invasion, which, you know, and that I've seriously been saying that for years, and look at how they might even deep fake, and they've been trying to do that stuff. But, you know, a real zombie apocalypse, a real nuclear war, a real Martian invasion. And then to what we just now said here tonight, or a real group of leaders, men and women who can grab their balls and say, nope, I'm in it for the country. And, you know, look, there's been plenty of others. We've gone more than 4 years with hardly any breaks. Why can't our politicians do it? And get in there, approach it just like it was a combat operation, and get in there and get the fucking job done. Yeah. Otherwise, I think we're screwed, Clint.
It just amazes me when I see these people up there and they get their, 2 minutes to stand on the podium and talk, and you look throughout the House of Representatives and nobody's in there. It's like, where in the hell are all these people at? Why are they not? These are government servants. Why are they not in there from 9 to 5? Solving problems. Where are they at? How did they get a freaking hall pass that's almost permanent?
Yeah. Yeah. And look, I've tried to call my representatives before. Good luck. Good luck. My senators, they've never called me back. I've left them messages multiple times. They've
Oh,
never called me back.
Thing, and we've got Warnock and Ossoff or whatever his name is here in Georgia, and every single time you write anything to them, you're getting a template letter back, that means nothing.
Yeah.
They don't care. They're hardcore. They're their party. They don't care what you say.
Yeah, that paper's only good just to keep a stack of it so you have emergency toilet paper in case we go to another, pandemic.
Yeah.
Hey, we're at a minute 5. Let me just read these last 2 comments and give you the final comment. And let's just wrap it up because, boys and girls, we weren't trying to solve any problems here. It was really more of like, Clint and I just wanted to talk about this. I didn't even get to the things I really want to discuss, and maybe I'll just leave you with food for thought. Yeah, here, matter of fact, and then I'll read these comments. I'll read you my last comments, and then we'll take it to Clint for his final comments and then bring this up. So we got learn me something. Trump may have a repeat of both parties. No, that's, I think, what Clint's point was, and I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. The Uniparty is going to rally and lock shields against him. Gene, we have this in the UK. The left got in and are doing nothing but sinking the ship further. Yeah, that's exactly. Yep, sinking it in that, that sea of shit. And then just Gene kind of coming in and saying, thanks, Clint, for speaking the truth and just being honest about everything. So here's what I'm going to leave everybody with on my side, and then I'm going to turn it over to Clint for his final comments. Something I really wanted to talk to is like, we just sat and spent 45 minutes talking about not trying to be doomsayers, not naysayers, and not clickbait. The sky's falling. But, this is the harsh reality. You can't go into combat and sugarcoat things and say, oh, that I don't have to worry about that company of infantry on my flank. That's how people die. We're just being honest about the terrain upon which we're currently deployed. In Clint's opinion, and he gets one, he's an American citizen. And in my opinion, I get one, I'm an American citizen too. So that's all we're trying to do. But I want to leave you with this. So you've heard us. Okay, and somebody say, well, what's the solution? Well, there's not just one solution. There's perhaps many of them. We've kind of danced around some of them tonight. But one thing I just do want to say to everybody is if you're going to put your eggs or your hopes and dreams into the basket that is the government, I'm just going to throw some agencies out to you. The FBI, the DOJ, the CIA, the NSA, FEMA, IRS, et cetera, et cetera. There are so many stories that the media, and see, I should have thrown the media, even though that's not an agency. It might as well be, like Clint, you brought up Joseph Goebbels. Yeah, it might as well be part of a fucking agency right now, So boys and girls, and they're bringing it to Clint. If really, Mark and Clint just making this up. There are so many horrible stories. The FBI just lied about its crime stats, and I was trying to silently let that information come back out. Dude, we are so beyond trouble right now. That's my. So if you think it's unicorns and rainbows, good luck with that. I'm from the government. I'm here to help. Good luck with that too.
Yeah.
Clint?
We've talked about this on some of the other preparedness live streams and stuff. Like I said, get out there and start. That's all I can say. I'm doing it. I was out today, rode like 10 miles through the woods on my mountain bike, just smoked the dog crap out of myself because I know I need to be in shape. I have to be in shape. That's number one thing. After that, making sure that you got some supplies and things stocked up that you can make it through, a power outage, weeks of civil unrest. You've got to be able to have some kind of plan. And if you don't have a plan, look around. They're all around you. Man, consult the Oracle. All you got to do is get on the internet, man. There's all kinds of plans. Go out, start putting some stuff together, and then we talked about this before, like a PACE plan, primary, alternate, contingency, emergency, man. You gotta think this stuff pretty deep. Well, what happens if this happens? Think through them a bit, because I think that's, at least talking to Mark, that's what all this was about, is community, bringing people together to talk, exercise our First Amendment rights while we still have them, to be able to have dialogue. I heard somebody I was watching on the internet the other day, and they were just saying, man, all you just remember, you don't hate the other side, because they're being lied to. We're being lied to. You know, you got to try to come to consensus, be a diplomat, figure things out. You know, everything has to be exhausted before you make a fist.
Yeah.
You know, but it's headed our way. So you better be ready for some stuff and, you know, have your own plan, stay in your lane, you know, and try to survive. Cause I mean, there's a lot of people that ain't going to make it.
And winter's coming.
Yeah.
It's right around the corner.
So man, I'm telling you, I'm just waiting. These last 20 days, 19, whatever we're at, you know, early voting just fired up. I'm ready as soon as I go. I'll probably be voting today, either the end of this week or beginning next week. I'll be voting early, and man, I'm going to go out and I'm going to tell the people at my party, if you got anybody that needs a ride, any veteran, anybody that's just needs some help, I'm gonna put me on a list. You know, so I can help. Even if you want me to go out, you got somebody's ballot I got to pick up, as long as it's not illegal and it's by the rules, I'm in.
Well, and that's just it. We all have to get into this fight because, you know, I kind of said this a couple of weeks ago. It's not my original line. Matter of fact, I think it comes from like, you know, might even come from like Stalin or something, you know, but I can't remember who made it, but you can vote in communism, but you can't vote it out. You have to fight your way out of it. So,
yeah, right.
So let's realize the fight we're in right now, because we're in a fight. It's existential. It's for the freedom of humanity. And, you know, the left is all about saying we have to save our democracy and we have to do this for mankind. Yeah. But, you know, again, their actions are the ones that I'm looking at. I'm not looking at the bullshit they're spewing out on TV and the propaganda. Again, I love it. You should almost make a hoodie, you know, or a t-shirt like Joseph Goebbels, you know, kind of behind in the shadows behind all these, you know, Lindsey Graham, Nancy Pelosi's, because that's what it is. I mean, you know, they've really learned from that. They've really, see, that's a whole nother road to go down, a rabbit hole right there. Tell the truth.
The level of the blob and the censorship and the techniques that they're using to, you know, this thing that they're making like crack cocaine, man, the internet, the phones, you can't live without them. And they're just like a freaking IV bag for your eyeballs. You know, they just want you to drink it in. And I swear, you know, I've been noticing a lot of stuff. I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but the things that I see and watch, you know, now it's like they're pumping in this stuff, this rhetoric to try to make me angry, you know, because it's all hard right stuff, you know, and things that I don't believe in that our government's doing. And it's literally, I can see it's like they're baiting me, you know, they're trying to make me angry, and they're doing the same thing on the other side. Yeah. You know, they're baiting everything that they can and trying to make the other side mad. So you just have to be smart enough to see what they're doing and don't take the bait. Don't let them sink the hook.
And that's a great way to end it right there. Any final comments, Clint?
I think that was good.
All right. You up for another quick after action review?
Absolutely.
Or you got a bounce. Okay. Let me get off of this and I'll start downloading this, and I'll give you a holler in about 5 minutes. Hey, for all the boys and girls watching live, really appreciate it. For everybody who leaves a comment in the live, really appreciate it. For anybody who watches this on demand afterwards, leave a comment. You know, the title tonight, you know, better to have and not need, right? So just that goes on so many levels. Yes, I make handcrafted gear in America. You already heard our argument for, you know, why I think that should be supported. You know, and it ain't just because I need to, you know, keep the lights on, but I also need to keep the lights on, right? Again, the whole litany, but better to have and not need. You know, think about what Clint has said. Even if you don't agree with this politically, and I'm totally okay with that. Matter of fact, one of the things I'll probably be talking about sometime soon is, where were all those classic liberals that I used to look up to when I was a kid? Where are those people right now? You know, so anyway, you do you, but better to have and not need than need not have. And we're definitely coming to that moment where there's a high probability you're going to need some shit. So think about what that stuff is. Don't be afraid. Take a breath. Okay, what do I need to do? And then fucking execute. How about that? You want to add a little bit to that, Clint?
No, I think you're good. I think we kind of circled the wagons on most everything, at least for the episode.
All right. Well, everybody, hats off to Clint for taking the time away from his family and sharing his ideas and background and his thought process and his experiences with everyone. We'll see everybody again live. I'll have some other standalone videos coming out here over the next week about products, but we'll see everybody live again on the 24th of October. And until then, all right, Gene, get them all ready, get them spun up. Until then, if you've got questions or comments, reach out. Really enjoyed talking to everybody recently, but just reach out. That's what I'm here for, right? I'll do the best I can to help you out. And until then, keep thinking, keep moving, never effing quit. We'll talk to you guys next week. All right, everybody. Woo! There we go.